everyone, and welcome to another episode of Friends, Facts, and Fiction. As always, this podcast is made possible by our local convenience stores, the misappropriation of history, and you. And now to your hosts, Justin Hammonds, Grant Bramlett, and Drew Shellnut.
We on, see if we're live.
What's up? What's happening, world? This is a podcast called Friends, Facts, and Fiction. And I'm Justin Hammonds. I'm looking at my boy, Drew Shellnut.
You might be.
And my guy, Grant Bramlett.
You definitely are.
And this is our second attempt at this live situation. You know, if you didn't know, we do a live on Facebook and Twitch, 7:30 every Monday, and new episodes drop every Friday. But anyway, to get on past that, Roll Tide, Bama's playing right now.
Roll Tide.
And hopefully we get to the Sweet 16 round. And it's been a historic tournament this year. A lot of first seeds have been knocked out by 15 seeds and 16 seed teams. Like all of Big Ten is already out. Illinois was expected to win the tournament.
Oh, you mean Big Ten? You mean the best conference in basketball?
Yeah, Ohio State's out.
Not this year.
All these squads are out. Honestly, the bracket has been busted, I'm sure, for everybody right now. If you still got some team in the bracket at this point, like, you just godsend. But
you know, I bet someone made a funny bracket. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's gonna win it.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? It's like, there's no way. Ha ha ha! I'm the office funny guy.
But this one guy on the radio show I listen to here in Nashville, he lets his dogs pick out teams for like 3 of his brackets. So he might be one of those guys.
Do they like drop a ball on a box?
No, he puts like a treat next to both teams, and whatever treat the dog eats first is the team. He explained no shit. I'm like, bro, that's fucking wild, bro. That is crazy, bro. But
Gambling's weird.
Yeah.
I've never really understood sports gambling.
hey, man, it's an addiction. Honestly,
I know.
It's fucking wild.
I guess I've never given it a real try.
Yeah. But
Out of self-preservation.
right. Yeah, it's a rabbit hole, my guy.
Yeah.
But song of the day is a selection by Mr. Drew Shellnut over here.
Yeah. So I'm going to be going with a band called Chon. That's CHON, and name of the song is called Book.
Yeah.
It's especially in this era, they were 100% no vocals, just really groovy, jazzy, metal almost kind of a deal, but there's not much distortion. Just kind of really that you could tell that they are metal players.
Sure.
But they just turned on the sexy. You know.
And there's the best synopsis.
You know?
They're metal players, but they turned on the sexy.
They turned on the sexy. You know?
And I just posted the link in the messages here, so y'all should be able to see that, to go check that out. With the visual medium, we can't really just play a sample. So go and peep that. It's a dope track. But today we're diving right back into this psychology, the history of psychology, and we stopped at old Socrates, or Socrates, for you potato heads out there. And I think we're diving into Aristotle now. Where we at with it?
No.
Where we?
It's okay.
Where we at?
Let's watch
I'll
them.
pick
I'm
a-
lost.
No, let's let them stay lost. So,
I'm lost. I don't know. I don't know. Hey, y'all do the research. I'm just here for fun. I'm just here to make it cool.
We're starting off with Hercules. No. We're starting off right after our boy that he just mentioned with the Idealist.
Plato.
Hey.
Ah.
Hey.
See, I was there. I'll be getting there.
You know.
You know. See it.
Yeah. His name was actually Aristocles.
See, that's
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
I knew before.
Mm-hmm.
Facts,
Yeah.
bro. Hot facts. I'm telling you.
he was a Hercules of the aristocracy.
Yes.
That's what it was.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
We love that.
Yeah.
We all know him as Plato. But that comes from the Greek word Platon, or broad. nickname actually came from him having broad shoulders when he was a wrestling kid.
Oh.
Yeah, he was big burly little.
So basically, one of the most iconic philosophers of all time.
Mm-hmm.
We just know him as Big Guy.
We know him as broad.
Yeah. But that's like
very caveman-esque.
today's thought
What's up?
process.
What's up, broad?
What's up, Big Guy?
What's up,
You know
big
what I
guy?
mean?
Hey there, big guy.
Hey, Big Guy.
Oh, it's big guy. Everybody knows big guy. He knows all the stuff about everything.
And now
Big Guy.
there's college courses on Big Guy.
Big guy.
The big guy with the broad shoulders.
He was born in 427 to a very aristocratic family, and from a young age, like our previous subject, was into poetry and, the arts. So much so that at 20, he was about to submit a poetic drama in a competition, but he hears Socrates speaking, burns his poetry, and becomes Socrates' pupil.
Jeez. Those are some powerful words.
Yeah.
Right?
Moving.
Yeah.
Moving.
Mm-hmm.
That's some belief right there, my guy.
Maybe it was the game-like quality of Socrates' dialectic that captivated the former wrestler, or maybe the subtlety of Socrates' ideas. Probably column A and column B. I'm going to go on that one because
but
he burned all of his stuff that he was doing to be like, nope.
He said, you know what, fuck this. I was on some dumb shit.
Yeah,
He's
right.
about that real life over here, man. Look
That's
at this.
crazy.
So Plato studied with Socrates for 8 years. He was a dedicated student, and one agent author says that he was never seen to laugh out loud, which is kind of funny.
He never LOL'd, my guy.
Yeah, no,
We all LOLing these days, you know what I'm saying?
Not much of a lawler, that dude.
no. But in the detail of his dialogues, it's evident that he had an active social life and was a keen observer on the human condition. After Socrates' death in 399, Plato fled Athens, wandering around the Mediterranean, meeting and studying with other philosophers. He returned back to Athens to fight for a city, but just then again to turn around and wander about and study again.
And it really is nuts. So Socrates really had a hold on this dude.
Yeah, big time.
I mean, he died, so he left.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like that's like, I don't know, a widower buying an RV
Right.
nowadays. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just
I mean,
crazy.
You never know what kind of relationship they had, different times.
It was Greece.
You feel me?
It was.
Greece.
It was about that love life.
Socrates wasn't about it too much, though. That's
True. Yeah, true that.
Except
true
for
that.
to the youths.
Yeah. Dark turn. That's a dark turn.
He just found the youths pleasing.
Yeah, we're going to get up out of there, too.
So Plato was also kind of he didn't like to sugarcoat shit. I can
point.
respect that.
Yeah, straight to the point.
At 40, while talking with Dionysus, he daringly condemned dictatorship. Dionysus said, "Your words are those of an old dotard." To which Plato replied, "Your language is that of a tyrant." Essentially, you weren't supposed to speak to people that were kings and such like that. But Plato was just
hey, bitch.
"No, fuck your couch." Like straight up.
He's rich. He can buy another one.
So Dionysus ordered him seized and sold him into slavery,
Oh, wow.
which might have been the end of his philosophizing. But Anicetus, a wealthy admirer, bought him back and returned him to Athens. And then friends of him raised 300 drachmas to reimburse Anicetus, who refused the money. Then they used it to buy Plato a suburban estate.
Oh, damn.
Right?
So
they're
got bought
just
out of slavery and they got a estate bought for him?
Yeah, yeah. And so he got it, and
Up
in
in the game.
387, he founded his academy.
Right.
So he was so beloved by the people
Yeah.
that they bought him back into
Right.
you
So
know, his own
without a
joint, you know.
request, there was a GoFundMe started.
Yeah. Yeah.
For him.
Yeah.
And then he was like, "Hell no, I don't want that
No.
money. He's too great.
Yeah.
I'll happily spend those 3,000 drachmas to keep him out of slavery.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start a school instead."
Sounds like a lot of money. That's
Yeah.
cool. So at this point, he was a poet, a studier, philosopher. He fled and fought. Was a soldier for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Then he was a slave.
Yep.
Now he owns an estate and runs a school.
Yep.
Damn, boy.
And this
That's like 6 different lifetimes.
yeah.
What a movie! Why haven't
Right?
they made that movie?
Right?
I'd watch that movie.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah. Well, and this
Definitely.
school actually was the intellectual center of Greece for like 9 centuries until in CE 529, the Emperor Justinian, a zealous Christian, shut it down in the best interest of the true faith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we're gonna get into that
Yeah.
more and more.
I had a little faith when you said Justinian. I was like, damn. I thought I was like this dude. Damn.
What's weird though is that like
It's not the name that makes the man.
Tell you what. Tell you what.
one thing that is kind of weird is that we have like almost no details about Plato's activities at the academy, which he headed for 41 years.
So they just kept it under wraps. Like whatever he was doing was kind of like, we just letting him do his thing over there.
Yeah, I guess.
Fuck it.
And you know, and he was 80 or 81 when he died.
Oh,
you know, around about. So I mean, and from the last 41 years of his life, we really don't know what he did.
I say
nuts.
eat organic. You know what I'm saying? 81.
But saying that's old as hell for
Yeah,
back
for that
then.
time, it's eating organic, baby. Yeah. No GMOs.
It is thought though that he taught his students by a combination of the Socratic dialectic and lectures, usually delivered as he and his auditors wandered endlessly to and fro in the garden. Yeah.
Right.
Plato's 35 or so dialogues were not meant for his students' use, though. Yeah, right. They were popularized, semi-dramatized versions of his ideas addressed to a larger audience. Yeah. They deal with metaphysical, moral, and political matters. And, you know, here and there, certain aspects of psychology. His influence on psychology, although was immense on, or his psychology was definitely a big factor on
The philosophy.
his philosophy as well, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, and like we talked about last week, they're pretty closely tied together. It's
big
just
time.
like the approach
Yeah.
of
It's big
trying to
thinkers
answer some of the questions. you know what I mean?
and big doers.
Right, exactly.
You feel me? Yeah, we got to bring it down. Big thinkers, big doers.
Big doers.
It's the difference. You know what I'm saying? That's how I locked it in. Just saying.
Right.
Which I like.
Yeah. Yeah. Might as well.
Yeah.
Well, despite the admiration that Plato is generally held, from a scientific standpoint, his effect on the development of psychology was more harmful than helpful. Believing if each man is the measure of all things, why are not pigs and baboons equally valid measures, since they too perceive?
Damn.
Yeah. If each man's perception of the world is truth, then any man is as wise as the gods, yet no wiser than a fool, and so on.
Yeah. It's that old two fools seldom differ. Great minds think alike,
Okay.
but two fools seldom differ. Yeah, I had to search for it.
There you go.
But yeah, whatever.
Well, more seriously, Plato has Socrates point out that even if we agree that one man's judgment is as true as another's, the wise man's judgment may have better consequences than the ignorant man's. The doctor's forecast of the course of a patient's illness, for instance, is more likely to be correct than the patient's. Thus, the wise man is, after all, a better measure of things than the fool.
Yeah,
Word.
of course. I mean, like,
Right.
just in general, you seek the information from an expert on something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't just randomly ask someone on the street how to fix a problem with your house. You call a professional.
A specialist, yeah.
Exactly.
But how does one become wise?
Wouldn't it?
Through touch we perceive hard and soft, but it is not the sense organs that recognize them as opposites, he says. It is the mind that makes that judgment.
Nope.
You know,
I'm gonna let it ride. Let it ride.
Through sight we may judge two objects to be about equal in size, but we never see or experience absolute equality. Such abstract qualities can be apprehended only by other means. We gain true knowledge, that is, the knowledge of concepts like absolute equality, similarity and difference, existence and non-existence, honor and dishonor, goodness, badness, through reflection and reason, not through sense impressions.
So he's talking about an erection the whole time. Right?
Clearly, I mean, it's right there on the page.
I mean,
I don't see any other way. That you
I was
could
gonna
ever
let it
think about
ride, but like, I couldn't let it go. I couldn't let it go. Anyway, but yeah, that's deep. That's deep. Oh. That's not continuing the pun.
Well, wow. So,
oh God,
he was kind of on a important psychological function trail here
Yeah,
in
of
this
course,
thought. The process where the mind derives general principles. Like his mentor, he believed that conceptual knowledge comes to us by recollection. We inherently have such knowledge and discovery, and discover it through rational thinking. Go figure.
Right.
yeah, right.
But going further than Socrates, he argues that these concepts are more real than the objects of our own perception. The idea of a chair, the abstract concept of chairness, is more enduring and real than a physical chair. What? Yeah. The latter will decay and cease to be. The former will not be.
So it's kind of like belief systems. Like believing in something that's not there is stronger than believing in something that's actually in front of you.
Yeah.
Type shit.
Yeah.
That and more
Kinda,
so the
yeah.
sense of like your memory of something is a lot more persistent than the physical object itself.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of that notion of a beloved one passing away, they still live on through the memory
Yeah,
of
for sure.
the people that left him
Yeah.
or her. You know what I mean?
And it could be a more grandiose memory than actuality as well. Type of
Exactly, yeah.
Word. Yeah, dig it.
So herein lies a weird one. The idea of a triangle, is perfect and timeless, while any triangle drawn on wax or parchment is imperfect and will someday cease to be. So let no one over his academy door, it said, let no one without geometry enter here. Which is pretty cool. It's
Okay.
and it's the idea of his general heart of his theories or his forms.
Yeah.
The metaphysical doctrine that reality consists of ideas or forms that exist eternally in the soul pervading the universe, God, while material objects are transient. Pluto, thus, an idealist, not in the sense of one with high ideals, but of one who advocates the superiority of ideas. We bring them with us, we are born. When we see objects in the material world, we understand what they are and the relationships between them, larger or smaller, and so on, by remembering our ideas and using them as guides to experience. Or rather, we do if we have been liberated from ignorance by philosophy. If not, we are deluded by our senses and live in error like prisoners in Plato's famous metaphorical cave. Imagine a cave, he says, in the Republic, one of his forms, in which prisoners are so bound that they face an inner wall and only see shadows cast on it by fire outside of themselves and of men passing behind them, carrying all sorts of vessels, statues, and figures of animals. The prisoners, knowing of what is behind them, take the shadows to be reality. At last, one man escapes, sees the actual objects, and understands that he has been deceived. He is like a philosopher who recognizes the material objects are only shadows of reality, and that reality is composed of ideal forms. It is his duty to go down into the cave and lead the prisoners up into the light and reality.
Damn. That took me on a journey mentally right there, my guy. Like, whoa. It reminds me of an old saying or an old story where these two old men are in hospice together and they're dying. And this one guy has the bed by the window. The other dude can't see the window. And he looks out the window every day. And it's just the most beautiful view, man. It's inspiring. Like, it's keeping me here. You know what I mean? And then dude passes. and the other guy gets the strength to go to the window one day. He opens up the window and it's just a brick wall.
Yeah.
And like to him, his beauty is being able to escape the room at least.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but in his mind is like it's just a fucking brick wall, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
It's all about how you fucking see what you're manifesting in front of you. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just deep philosophy, man. Big thinkers.
Right.
Big thinkers.
Well, and most
Straight
people
up.
think that he came up with all of this from, Socrates and his own reasoning kind of mixed together. But there was, it's also kind of held in high regard as well that, he went through a lot of chaotic situations in his life, and
obviously.
military experiences kind of expedited his thought as well.
Military experiences, slavery.
So
fucking,
that's
whoa.
something that old Socrates didn't go along or didn't have to deal with as much.
Yeah, for sure.
His theory of ideas greatly extended the dualism of Socrates. It portrayed the senses as deceptive, the spirit as the only path to truth, appearances and material things as transient, ideas as real and eternal, the body as corruptible and corrupting, the soul as incorruptible and pure.
Right. So, I mean, and that makes me think about really just, to me, that's just human nature. Like if it's you live a chaotic life or in a very chaotic situation, you try and find something constant
Right.
and calm, you
Yeah.
know? And if it can only be just an idea in your head, then that's what you're going to grab onto real
Right.
hard.
You mean being
know
an
what I mean?
artist?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, whatever
absolutely.
gets you through your insane life in a sane mode. You know what I mean? Chaos, fucking, what is it? Control chaos,
Yeah.
in a way.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, that really just, to me, like, yeah, obviously this guy was a genius and, you know, he's coming up with some of this stuff that no one else really had thought about, or at the very least hadn't extrapolated it so far, and then was able to condense it and explain it effectively. It still just goes to show that he was just looking for something that he could believe in and hold on to that made him feel a little more calm, you know.
Grasping at everything.
Nobody be perfect.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean,
True
soul
facts.
for Plato
Hot facts.
was not only incorporeal and immortal entity, an incorporeal and immortal entity, as many Greeks had long believed, you know.
Yeah.
It's also mind, which, you know, obviously it's going to make sense because it's not just a being that lives beyond. It's what drives you, kind of a deal in his, you know, thought process.
Right.
But he never explained how thinking can take place in an incorporeal essence, since thinking requires effort and in turn uses energy. When would the energy come to enable the soul to think? Plato says the emotion is essence of the soul, and that psychological activities are related to its inner motions. But he is silent about the source of the energy for such motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's probably pondering that his whole life,
Yeah,
I'd imagine. Like
especially
we
if he's
all
just dipping
are
out,
still.
walking around in the wilderness, just like
Yeah. It's fucking,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I mean,
trying to
hell,
vibe
he,
it out.
He hosted all of his lectures wandering through the garden. You know, clearly he was a walk and talk kind of a guy, you know.
Walk
Yeah.
with me, talk with me,
Yeah.
real quick.
Right. In some of the middle and later dialogues, notably the Republic, the Phaedrus, and the Timaeus, he says that when the soul inhabits a body, it operates on 3 levels: thought or reason, spirit or will, and appetite or desire. The good is achieved when all 3 aspects of the soul function in harmony. Here too, he resorts to a metaphor to make, you know, his meaning clear. He likens the soul to a team of 2 seeds, one lively but obedient, the spirit, the other violent and unruly, the appetite. The toe yoked together and driven by a charioteer, reason, who makes them cooperate and pull together. Plato came to this conclusion without conducting clinical studies or psychoanalyzing anyone, yet to a surprising extent, it anticipates Freud's analysis of characters as composed of superego, ego, and ID.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
That's wild.
and
Yeah.
that's
You know?
Direct line of thought right there. Jesus.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
That is cool.
That's
Yeah.
that's cool shit, man.
Yeah, Plato also said, with any empirical evidence to go on, or without any empirical evidence to go on, the reason is located in the brain, the spirit in the chest, and the appetites in the abdomen, that they are linked by the marrow of the spine and the brain, and the emotions are carried around the body by the blood vessels. Considering that he was no anatomist, one can only wonder how he arrived at these judgments.
I mean,
Come on now.
they weren't keeping track of his studies. You know what I'm saying? No telling what he was doing out there.
He's just ripping through stuff, you know?
Yeah, no telling what's going on in the back rooms out here, bro. Yeah, man.
But I mean, that kind of makes a lot of sense. We still use that type of language a lot of times. You know what I mean? Like, go with your gut or on this one, or sometimes, you know, tell your gut to shut up and listen to your head, or, you know, I'm
Mind over matter.
going with my heart on this. You know what I mean? Because he's saying the spirit's in the chest, right? So that's your heart. You know, you've had your heart broken, that kind of stuff, and
Spirit
then
down.
well, you know, and you have some strong basic urges like hunger. That's in the fucking abdomen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. True that.
Well, I mean, it also adds in the Republic in kind of remarkably modern terms. When the reasoning and taming and ruling power of the personality is asleep, the wild beast within us, gorged with meat and drink, starts up, and having shaken off sleep, goes forth to satisfy its desires. And there is no conceivable folly or crime, not expecting incest or participants, or the eating or forbidden food, which at such a time, when he was parted company with all shame and sense, a man may not be committed to.
Mm-hmm.
Two other items of Plato's psychology are worth noting. Or no, I'm just not. I'm going to say they're not worth noting, but I'm going to note them.
But I'm gonna.
Yeah. One is his concept of eros, or eros, the drive to be united with the loved one. It usually has a sexual or romantic connotation, but in Plato's larger scene, it refers to the desire to be united with the idea of eternal form. That is, you know, the other person, of the eternal form of what the other person exemplifies.
Yeah.
Despite the metaphysical trapping of the concept, it contributed to psychology in that the idea that our most basic drive is for us to unify without identifying principle. As Robert I. Watson, a historian of psychology, puts it, eros is popularly translated as love, but may often be more meaningful called life force, you know. This is something akin to biblical will to live, the life of energy, and so fudge. That's a new one.
It's a very poetic way to describe sex with somebody.
So fudge.
It's deep right there, bro. My goodness.
I mean, to me, like, I understand where Watson's coming from, in that it's love, or it may be more meaningful to call it a life force, but I'm getting more of like that desire of unity, or if you want to think of it as like a romantic partner, that notion of like compassionate love, where you truly fall in love with what that person represents to you. You know what I mean? And once you have that sense of unity, being able to push forward in your life with that that partner there, you know, to help you fight the crimes of life.
Mentally, emotionally, and physically intertwined.
Right,
You know
right,
what I mean?
right.
Yeah, for sure.
The physicality is just one aspect.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Well, finishing up on Plato and moving on to the next guy, he offered a thought memory that would be used much later to counter his own theory of knowledge. Although he viewed recollection through reasoning as the most important kind of memory, he did admit that we learn and retain much from everyday experience. To explain why some of us remember more than others experience, or remember it correctly than others do, and why. Plato pursued the thought no further, but much later it would epitomize a theory of knowledge diametrically opposed to his, very obviously. the 7th century philosopher John Locke and the 20th century behaviorist John Watson would base their psychologies on the assumption that everything we know is what we experience, as written on the blank slate of the newborn mind, or was written on the blank slate of the newborn mind. So I don't know.
That's crazy.
Yeah, to me, that's almost kind of a so we're just born with the innate
Understanding.
like an alligator, a baby alligator.
Sure.
Baby alligator.
So, I mean,
That
it's
was a nice fade off, my guy.
baby alligator.
Just like a you know.
That's complicated as hell.
Exactly.
It's
So-
deep though.
Yeah.
That's all you can say sometimes.
So
That's deep.
That's
yeah,
deep.
right.
That's
Does
deep.
that mean I don't know what the hell I'm talking about right now? Yes.
Hey, that's deep. That's deep. Straight up.
So like Locke and Watson, their notion is that you're born as a blank slate, right? Which is relatively true, but we do have massive amounts of survival instincts
Opposed
that
to
are
the baby killer.
constantly,
Yeah.
around.
So it's like the human experience is what he's talking about in that sense of it. Like the natural ability to be human due to the experiences that we've had as humanity as a whole is already there, but it's also a blank slate. You know what I mean? Like, we grow
In a
less
sense,
hair.
yeah.
We grow less hair now because of what we've been through as humans. So that human experience is a part of what we are.
And then also that just that
Yeah,
whole
that type of
notion of of higher thought, right? Once all of your essential needs are met, you don't have to focus on where you're going to sleep or what you're going to eat or whatever.
Yeah.
Then you can start thinking about those fun questions like what is life. Those
thinking.
kinds of thoughts are essentially like a blank slate for a newborn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the opposite of what Plato was initially arguing. But then I think he was starting to think later in his life, maybe I wasn't totally spot on about that,
Yeah, right.
but I'm not really sure.
Well, when you got yes men around you gassing you up, you're just gonna rock with your ideas anyway until you're like, oh shit, old and alone. Like, hold on, damn, was I wrong in my 20s to 40s? Maybe I was.
We often are. So.
You know what I'm saying? No, it is what it is.
So then we move to Plato's most distinguished pupil.
The realist, my guy.
Yeah, Aristotle.
You know his name.
Aristotle.
Aristotle. Veronica Vine. No, but anyway.
Oh, shit.
So Aristotle spent 20 years at Plato's academy. But after leaving, he contradicted Plato's teachings so effectively that he had an influence on Plato as his master, which is kind of odd.
That's real.
You know, he came in and was just like, Plato was like, that's probably what helped lead to Plato going.
Hold on, wait. Maybe I was wrong.
Yeah, maybe so.
The student became the teacher.
Right.
Yeah, more than that, through philosophy, he left his mark on areas of knowledge as diverse as logic and astronomy, physics and ethics, religion and aesthetics, biology and rhetoric, politics, politics, and psychology.
Politics.
Although his psychology was, far from Aristotle's main concern, he gave history's first full integrated and systematic account of it. Says psychologist scholar Daniel M. Robinson, adding directly and indirectly, it has been among the most influential and as well within the surviving works can be found theories of learning and memory, perception, motivation, and emotion, socialization, and personality.
Nice.
You might expect such an intellectual giant to have been a weirdo, but short little fat guy walking around saying, "Hey, this is." No, he was actually quite the handsome bearded man, if you will, with refined and sensitive features.
Somebody's got a crush.
I might.
That's real.
Yeah, you know, he offset a lot of these views though with his elegant dress and impeccable barbering. You know, nothing is known of his private life during the years at the academy, but at 37, he married for love. His wife died early, and his will asked that at his own death, her bones be laid next to his. He remarried, lived with his second wife the rest of his life, and left her well provided for. In recognition of the study, affection she has shown me.
Yep. So he fell so hard for this first lady that he wanted to be buried beside her.
Yeah.
But he did leave some money for that other one.
Yeah. Yeah.
It goes to show
Because
you, man.
she was nice to him.
Yeah.
The
Well, you
whole
know,
time.
and he's usually a nice guy, but there was a couple accounts, and like one of them was a guy asked him, "Have I bored you to death with my chatter?" And he replied, "No, indeed. I wasn't paying attention to you."
So it's a little arrogant, probably. Huh?
A little bit.
And I think back then that was fighting words. I'm pretty
Oh
sure.
yeah.
Like,
yeah. That was
Just like very, very nice disrespects. You know what I mean? It's kind of like bless your heart type of vibe.
yeah.
But that'd be fighting words rather than just like plain disrespect.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, he was also kind of a rich kid growing up too, but you know,
entitled.
although he was
Entitled and arrogant.
Yeah.
There you go.
And although he was a rich kid, he was extraordinarily like a hard worker all his life, sparing nothing in his quest for knowledge, like anything at all. When Plato read his Phaedo dialogue aloud, various auditors tiptoed out one by one, but Aristotle and he alone stayed to the end. On his honeymoon, he devoted much of his time collecting seashells, and he labored so hard on his research and writing that he completed 170 works in 40 years.
Damn.
170 works.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
I don't have any works. So
there's
far.
well, there's also like a lot less distraction back then. You know what I'm saying? The one thing you were doing that shit like
Oh, yeah.
24 fucking.
I mean, to
7,
the point
you know
where
what I'm
that
saying?
was like your last name. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
exactly.
Like,
Like for real. Yeah. It was not just like, oh, I'm gonna do this for a few hours a day and then like, go watch TV. Look at Instagram for 2 hours, you know? It's like, no, you're doing this shit for like 12 hours a day, my guy.
Yeah.
Like straight up.
Well, and the reason why
Probably more.
a lot of people think that the reason why he left when he was 37 is because when Plato died, he appointed his successor to be his nephew instead of Aristotle, and he was just kind of pissed off, and so he dipped out.
A little nepotism there, eh?
Yeah. So he spent 13 years away from Athens. First, a philosopher advisor to Hermaeus, tyrant of Assus in Asia Minor. Then as the head philosopher at the Academy of Mytilene on Lesbos. Then as tutor to teenage Alexander at Pella.
Huh.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Alexander the Great.
Yeah.
Wild.
All the while, he was intensely busy reading, observing animal and human behaviors, studying the skies, collecting biological specimens, dissecting animals, and, writing. Some of his works, cast in dialogue form, were said to have been literally masterpieces, but they were all lost. All of them. Yeah, right? The
That's
47, yeah. The ones that were literally masterpieces were apparently lost, but the 47 that remain are still intellectually profound. They were essentially what we believe to be his school notes.
Yeah.
Man, that blows.
It's
Yeah.
just,
Of his
It's just his school notes.
170 works, we only
Yeah.
have 47, and they're not like the good ones.
well, not the interesting ones, I guess. But I mean, think about all the other shit that we've lost too. in the time of like humans. You know what I'm
Sure,
saying? Like,
absolutely. I'm just thinking
all
about
the literary works.
Plato
like,
specifically, and I mean Aristotle specifically, in the sense that the 47 of his 170, they weren't the good ones, and we still talk
still
about
just
them.
like, what
Everybody
the
knows
fuck?
that dude's name.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
The three of us
Right.
are having a decently long conversation. about
yeah,
it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So at
Shit's
49,
That's nuts.
at the height of his powers, he returns back to Athens and is passed over again for the vacancy of the presidency of the academy.
I think he'd been killing it out here.
Again.
Yeah.
So he then founded his own like rival institution, the Lyceum.
I like how these motherfuckers just like popping up with schools. Like,
Yeah.
hey, you know, I'm smart.
I mean, yeah.
I'm gonna go run a school real quick. You know what I mean?
And this one, he's just like,
shit's wild.
and this is like you're definitely your rival school. This is like right outside the city.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
That's gangster as fuck.
Yeah. And there he assembled teachers and pupils, a library, and a collection of zoological specimens. So he was going a little bit further on this one. Yeah, he lectured both morning and afternoon while strolling up and down the covered walkway of the Lyceum. After 13 years at the Lyceum, he left Athens again when anti-Macedonian agitation broke out, and he became under attack. So his reasons for moving away, he said, was to save the Athenians from sinning twice against philosophy. Obviously, the first sin was Socrates' execution. He died the following year in 322 at 62 or 63 of stomach illness.
Yeah, he got poisoned. Yeah, somebody probably killed him.
Probably.
I mean, stomach illness. That's,
Well, and
that's
also,
pretty vague.
also, if you think about it, the longevity back then was not 62 or 63. And you're talking about Aristotle was around 80, 81.
Yeah.
So, of course,
crazy.
he was just, and that's insane. But none of this explains the immensity of his accomplishments. You can assume that, as with Shakespeare, Bach, or Einstein, Aristotle was a genius and the rare sort of who happened to live at that time, obviously.
For sure.
Especially in that time with his extraordinary abilities, Many of his,
where they actually liked it and supported it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're like, oh shit, that dude's smart. Let's listen to what he has
Right.
to say. Because, we're about to enter an era where that's no longer the case.
Facts. Big facts.
Unfortunately, many of his theories were later overturned or abandoned. And his scientific writings pretty riddled with myths, folklore, and kind of outright errors, In his impressive De Generationem Animalium, History of Animals.
Okay.
I fucked that one all the way.
No, your ancient Greek was perfect.
Yeah, right?
You've
been studying that shit,
I try
right?
so damn hard. Man, I tell you what, if I knew what to tell you. So in this, he reported as fact that mice die if they drink in summertime, that ills are reported, that are generated spontaneously. Human beings have only 8 ribs, and that women have fewer teeth than men.
Right.
But unlike Plato, he had the hunger for empirical data and the love of painstaking observation. Despite the high value he placed on deductive reasoning and, formal logic, he continually stressed the importance of inductive reasoning, deriving, generalizations from observed cases of, examples of fundamentally like scientific method and a way of arriving at knowledge exactly contrary to that advocated by Plato, obviously.
Right. So, I mean, he is, by his own design, is starting to implement, what we know as like the scientific method nowadays. And through that has come to things that contradicted Plato, which is good in its essence of, if something's wrong, trying to figure out the right part.
Exactly.
But something, though, that I do want to hit on real quick is if he's so, like, his observations are so, like, painstakingly careful and everything.
Oh, yeah.
how in the hell did he not catch the fact that women have the same amount of teeth?
Right?
That's just a
Fucking wild.
matter of like,
Was
you know,
something
getting
going on?
a few people to line up
Yeah,
and
straight up. Just like, let me see that real quick.
count your
Say
teeth.
real quick, my guy.
Well, I mean, he
Like,
thought
Jesus.
the brain's function was, you know, like to cool the blood when it became overly warmed as well.
Yeah.
He also discussed the possible existence of an interior sense, the common sense, by means of which we recognize the various sensations arriving from different sense organs.
Yeah.
He explains that if we ignore these absurdities, perceptions become knowledge and convincing, and complementary to perception-based teachings of like Protagoras and Democritus. Our minds, Aristotle says, recognize the similarities in a series of objects. This is the essence of inductive reasoning, and from thus common traits from a universal or a universal word or a concept signifying not an actual thing but a sort of general principle, kind of levels out the knowledge and wisdom. So reason or intellect thus acts upon sense data.
Sure.
Heavy
Word.
words.
Yeah.
Heavy words.
I picked it up. I smell what you stepping in, player. Yeah.
That stank.
Oh, shit.
Though he never totally abandoned the metaphysical trappings of Greek thought, he came close to saying that universals have no existence except in the thinking mind. Like not universals, but universes have no existence other than in the mind. He thus synthesized that two main streams of Greek thinking about knowledge: the extreme emphasis on sense perception of Protagoras and Democritus again, and the extreme rationalism of Socrates and Plato. On the other hand, his comments about the part of the soul where thinking takes place are lucid and kind of sensible. Yeah. So once he has all these matters out of the way that he's, thinking about, Aristotle gets to his real interest: how the mind uses both deduction and induction to arrive at knowledge. His description constitutes, according to Robert Watson, the first functional view of mental process. Psyche is a process. Psyche is what psyche does. Psyche isn't an immaterial essence, nor is it the heart or blood. It is the steps taken in thinking, the functionalist concept that today underlies cognitive science, information theory, and artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No wonder they were all kind of in awe of him.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's, yeah. Word.
Yeah, it's pretty great. His description of thought process is actually based off his laboratory findings. He had none, of course, but in being so diligent as a collector of biological specimens, he may have well done some, pretty scrutinizing, experiments on like things, but he never documented this stuff.
That's crazy.
So yeah, the most important thing that has come past this though is the thinking mind. Whether functioning deductivity or inductivity uses perceptions or remembered perceptions to arrive at general truths. Sensation brings us perceptions of the world. Memory permits us to store those perceptions. Imagination enables us to recreate from memory mental images corresponding to perceptions, and from accumulated images we derive general ideas radically differing from his mentor Plato. Aristotle, he didn't really believe that the soul was born with knowledge,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's kind of, it's very nicely said, but it's sort of common to
Right.
us now.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think, you know what I mean? That
Definitely.
like we know that like we see something, our memory puts it into storage,
Mhm.
and then our imagination can do with it what it will.
Mhm.
For sure.
But you know, at the time, no one else had said anything like that, so they're like, "Holy shit, this dude though."
This dude knows what's cracking out here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
How did he come to these conclusions? What's going on in that building over there, bro?
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a lot to think about for back then in those times.
Yeah, right. Well, because he was a creature of his time, like you said, some of his comments about memory seem a bit nonsensical now, you know? He said, for instance, that we remember things best when the memory is moist. Worse when it's dry.
How does one
Have a moist memory.
how does one dampen their memory?
Can you dampen my
curious.
memory
That
really
motherfucker
quick?
get moist. Huh? Woo! All right.
Also, another one
I'm
is
gonna let that lay
uh,
there. I'm gonna let that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Another one is that very young persons have poor memories because the surface of the wax type tablet memory kind of a deal that he envisions changes rapidly through growth. But many of his observations were perceptive and close to the mark. You know, for example, the more often an experience is repeated, the better it is remembered.
Practice.
Very good.
Look at that. Practice.
Another
We talking about practice?
practice.
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 We just play the game. We talking about practice. Shouts out Allen Iverson.
Another one, events experienced only once, but under the influence of strong emotion, may be better remembered than others experienced without. You know, we recall things from memory by relying on various kinds of connections among our ideas, similarity, contrast, and contiguity.
Right.
Yep. To find a lost memory, for instance, we call to mind something we believe or know will lead us to the memory, you know, where we are after.
Yeah, just like having the first word of a verse for me. Just give me the first word. First word. Yeah. Bink.
Yeah, I
Let's
mean,
go.
like when I was playing in way too many bands, they would call the name out of a song, and I'm like, I have no idea what fucking
Oh
song
man, I
that is.
hated that
And
part.
then I would lean over to the bass player, like, "What's the first
Exactly.
couple of notes?"
This
And they
guy-
would play it, and I'd be like, "Okay, I got the entire song.
Yeah, let's
now,
go.
Just
Let's go.
like
I'm
that."
ready. Yeah.
I saw this this commercial. I can't remember what it is, but it's like this chick like fumbling her phone.
Oh, the iPhone joint.
and
Yeah.
I said, that sounds like Grant and I talking at band practice, and she just busted out laughing because it's like, and she's just like, and I was like, yep, rhythm, baby.
That shit's hilarious. Literally just speaking in onomatopoeias for like 2 hours. It's
Yeah,
like, all right.
absolutely.
We had a whole practice. Didn't say much English at all.
Oh yeah, Papa, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one.
a great
That's
one.
the one. Right with that.
Getting back to it, David J. Murray, a historian of psychology, writes, the last sentence here is possibly the most influential written in history of psychology, for it enunciates the belief that we are moved by association from one concept to the next. That belief would, from the 17th century on, be the foundation of a major theory of learning and the principal way of accounting for human development and behavior. In De Anima and other works, Aristotle dealt briefly with or touched on a number of other psychological matters, though none warrants or really close attention, you know.
Yeah.
The range and perceptiveness of these comments are remarkable.
Remarkable.
I don't think so. No. Among other things, he offered a theory of motivation in terms of pleasure and pain, touched on the drives producing various kinds of behavior, you know, like courage, friendship, temperance, and others like that, and sketched the theory of catharsis, the vicarious purgation of pity and fear, if you didn't know. To explain why we feel rewarded by seeing tragedies in theater. We may have a laugh or giggle, you know, at some of his wilder guesses, like a good meal making us sleepy because digestion causes gases in the body to collect around the heart, you know?
Right.
They interfere with the psyche.
They do. They do interfere with the psyche. But Robert Watson writes, the study of Aristotle is rewarded by a feeling of wonder at the modernity of much of what much of what he has said about physiological matters or psychological matters in that. He was, of course, wrong in many of his facts, and he omitted important topics. But his overall framework is growing, sensing, remembering, desiring, reacting, and thinking with few changes, and bears more of a, modern psychological approach.
Yeah, exactly. And that's basically why he's so important.
It's like the linking chain from like old to modern, basically.
Kind of in a way, yeah. And his approach to it is kind of the foundation of psychology, and how he's trying to come up with some of the answers to his questions. Right. And then 2, some of the realizations that he made on our tendencies to react to something or just in general how we are, and what we want and how we think and all that fun stuff. It's pretty modern.
Yeah.
Especially considering how fucking long ago that was.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Damn. Been long ago. Are you ready to wrap it up? Well, that's the time for this week. We're going to dive deeper into modern psychology next week. Season 3 is off to a bang. And I hope y'all enjoyed this live stream again. And again, I'll mention that our live stream happens Monday at 7:30. Our Twitch is friends_facts_fiction. And Facebook is just the title of the podcast, Friends, Facts, and Fiction. And we release a new episode every Friday. And thank y'all for tuning in. I hope y'all are safe out there. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Don't hesitate to hit us up on the email, all that, anchor.fm /Friends, Facts, and Fiction. You can help us out by supporting us there if you want to throw some extra bucks this way, and all that good stuff.
Yes.
We need it, you know what I'm saying, to keep this thing going. Appreciate everybody that tuned in and all the funny comments that I'm reading. Thank y'all so much. And I'm going to say I'm Justin Hammonds. Love, live life because it's worth living, y'all.
I'm Drew Shellnut. I'm going to say I'm sorry for the ramble.
I think you did fine.
Yeah, man.
Just a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot of history.
It's a lot.
And we
It's
gave
very
you the
complex.
tip of the iceberg of these guys.
We are experiencing technical difficulties.
We out.
Thanks for listening and stay tuned for the next installment. Find us on Facebook and Instagram to stay up to date on all things Friends, Facts, and Fiction. Our Instagram handle is friends_facts_fiction. As always, please reach out to us. You can send any of your questions, praise, and fact-checking to friends_facts_fiction@gmail.com. It's important to us to only propagate the truth, and we'll correct any errors we may have made. Your hosts and researchers are Justin Hammonds, Grant Bramlett, and Drew Shellnut. Our episodes are produced by Grant Bramlett. Additional producership provided by Grace Higgs. Our recording engineer is Grant Bramlett. Our editor, mix, and mastering audio engineer is Jeremy Mulder. Lighting design is provided by Justin Hammonds. Our office assistants are Gully and Bull. Our research assistants are Under and Paid. Our current interns are Lost and Questionable. Our personal drivers are Idealist and Tired. And our resident pooches are Pack and Jolene, the Devil Child. This has been a production of Friends, Facts, and Fiction.